Before I show you how to format your paragraphs into columns, numbering, bullets, line spacing, or indents, we need to know what makes a paragraph in Microsoft, or what is a paragraph according to Microsoft. Now in my English class, I was taught that 3 or 4 sentences make up a paragraph, not according to Microsoft, where a paragraph is anywhere where you hit the Enter key on the keyboard. Let me go ahead and click inside here so I can see the outline of the text box. Now here, I clicked at the end of the paragraph and I hit the Enter key. Now you wouldn't know that, and there's no way of finding out because in PowerPoint it doesn't have what's in Word, which is the Show Hide Codes button that allows you to see the code for where you hit the Enter key or the paragraph marker. So you'll just have to kind of guess at this, and actually there's some ways of finding out without the Show Hide Code feature in PowerPoint, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But right now, anywhere where I hit the Enter key, and I only hit it once, says that everything above where I hit it is a paragraph and everything below is a separate paragraph. So if I come up here and I click after the word dream and I hit Enter, now I have 2 paragraph markers, one here and one here, where I hit the Enter key twice, and 3 separate paragraphs. So everything to the left of the first marker, or where I hit the Enter key, is going to be a paragraph. Everything below that until the next time that I hit the Enter key is going to be a paragraph, and everything after that is another paragraph. Now you could be fooled without the Show Hide Code feature in PowerPoint. Let me hit the backspace key. That if I click after dream and I hold down the space bar and I push, that you could look at this and go, oh, I've got 1, 2, 3 separate paragraphs. You don't know that I added a bunch of spaces here. It appears like I hit the Enter key on the keyboard, which isn't true, as you just saw. And so how can you tell that one, according to Microsoft, without the Show Hide Codes, is a paragraph? One way is just to do a triple click. If I come down here and I do a double click, as we learned in an earlier training video, it selects the word. When I triple click, it selects the entire paragraph. Now notice how it's also selecting dream. So since Microsoft sees dream as part of the lines down below, it didn't see a hard return at the end, so there must be a bunch of spacing here going on that includes that as part of the rest of the lines, making that a paragraph separate from that because it didn't come down here and select the text down below. So if I double click and then triple click, it selects everything after the Enter key here or the paragraph marker and not up above. So I just have 2 paragraphs. And put another way, let me go ahead and click and drag and delete all the spaces here. That if I come to an end of a line and I hit the Enter key, and you see how it nudged that over just a space because there was a space previously between like and we, and I delete that space, it looks like that we have 2 separate paragraphs, right? No, because I hit the Enter key here, Microsoft sees this as a separate paragraph from that one. So if I triple click, notice how it just selects that line or that paragraph, more accurately put, separate from this one. So if I triple click down below, it doesn't select that paragraph up above. So that's something else to watch out for, and there's many other things to watch out for that I go over more in detail, and you can look at my Word 2013 training videos on that, because what we're doing here in PowerPoint is we're using some of the Word features. In other words, we can add text to our presentation that we want some editing capabilities, but it doesn't have all the capabilities that Word is the master of. So if you want more details and learn more about the abilities to format and working with text, and how you can get around some of the features that are not available in PowerPoint, then you definitely want to watch my Word 2013 training videos. And then also, since we're talking about that, you can insert charts and spreadsheets or tables that look like spreadsheets into PowerPoint, and the master of that is Excel. But again, you got 2 separate specialists, and then you have PowerPoint that's trying to bring them together into a presentation. So let's go ahead and come up here and delete it. We got rid of that paragraph marker, hit the space bar, so when I triple click, it sees everything there, all the lines as 1 paragraph. Now let's move on and convert this from a single column into multiple columns, because right now your text box is just 1 column. To convert it to 2 or more columns, come up here on the Home tab to the Paragraph group and hover over this button here to add or remove columns. We can do 2 columns. You can see the preview down below. Select that. And the columns are pretty tight. I don't have a lot of spacing in between the 2. Makes it a little bit difficult to comprehend. So let's come back up here, click on the drop down arrow, go to more columns, and you can add, let me hover over it. There should be a pop-up. Let me click in it. There we go. You can enter anywhere from 1 to 16 columns, and 16 is quite a bit. And then you can have the spacing maybe a ½ inch, might look pretty good. Click OK. Yeah, that looks good. And then of course to go back to the way it was, just come back up here and go back to one column, or you can go ahead and hit undo if you still have that option available. You can also align your paragraphs, so this is where it becomes important to know what is actually a paragraph according to Microsoft, because right now everything is left aligned, like this paragraph and that paragraph, because when I click in it, up in the paragraph group, that's what's highlighted. So my cursor's down in the second paragraph. If I do center align, just aligns that and not the paragraph up above. And then I can go back to left align. You also have other options as far as alignment goes. Let's come up here and click on the align text drop down arrow. Instead of horizontally, you can do vertically, like center all the paragraphs, not just one, but the entire contents of the text box to the middle, as you can see there. Click on the drop down arrow. You've got more options. It opens up the format shape text box. You can get a little bit more detailed with vertical alignment. You've got top, middle, and then middle centered. But you know what? It's already going to the edge of the borders here of the text box, so centering it between the two isn't an option right now. We can just go ahead and use the alignments so we can have it either to the left, center, or to the right of the text box, and then just use vertical alignments here. Let me click off. Oops, collapsed it. Click on it to expand it. Text direction. You can rotate the text here, do 270, which makes it hard for me to read because I'm not a sidewinder here. Or instead of coming over here, you can of course come up here to the paragraph group and click on the text direction arrow and go back to the way it was. And let's change this to the top again. You can mess with your margins, so if you want more spacing from the left margin here, then increase it or decrease it, and also to the right. You can get rid of the default wrapping within the text shape, and then it shoots way past it, and that makes it troubling, at least for my application right here of what I'm trying to accomplish. And of course you can do your columns again. Let's close out. And let's do some line spacing. This again applies only to paragraphs, so wherever my cursor is flashing in this paragraph, you don't have to click and drag to select the paragraph. Just click anywhere within it. That when I come up here to the paragraph group and come up and click on line spacing, I can select 1.5 and it just applies to that paragraph. You get more line spacing options where again we're back to our alignments, left, center, justified, and right. And then you can do some indentation. You have a couple of different indentations for your paragraphs. You can do first line or hanging. Now the first line indents the first line of the paragraph. The hanging indent indents all but the first line of the paragraph. And so if I do first line and I say indent that about 1/2 inch and click okie dokie, there you go. It indents the first line of the paragraph. Come back up here to line spacing options and let's do hanging. And we'll do 1/2 inch, and then it flips. So now the first line that was indented is now outdented, and all the lines underneath the first line is indented. And then if you want to be able to control this a bit more in detail, in other words, there is a ruler that will show you how the paragraphs are indented, little markers. You can come up here by clicking on the View tab, going to the Show group, and let's check ruler. You have your vertical and horizontal ruler, and there's your paragraph markers there. At least for controlling the paragraph that we have selected. When I click up here, notice how it moves everything over to the left-hand side. So it's divided into 3 markers here. The top is the first line indent. Again, it indents the first line of the paragraph. The next one underneath that, a little triangle it looks like pointing upwards, is the hanging indent. Indents all but the first line of the paragraph. And then the bottom left indents the whole paragraph. So if I come up here and the cursor is flashing in the first paragraph here and I click and drag the first line indent over, the first line is indented. If I click and drag that over to a line, it's right up against the text box here, which doesn't matter because when you click off you can't see it anyways. And then you have the one just underneath it, the hanging indent, click and drag that. So all the lines underneath the first line will indent, leaving the first line hanging. And then if I come back and I click and drag that back, and then I click and drag the bottom one over, it indents all the lines. Let's drag that back. And then click down here. And then if I click and drag with this already being indented over the bottom one, and drag it over, You can move the entire paragraph over without affecting the hanging indent. That is until I want to be able to get rid of the hanging indent, in which case I have to click on the second to the bottom indent and drag that in so it lines up with the other triangle up above, and it looks like we're back to where we started.